Oh, hello there. 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 And welcome back to another action-packed day of ELA 1 with Mr. Williamson, your favorite class of the day. We have a lot to get through today, so I'm going to go quickly through everything. As always, we're going to start with the quote of the day, which comes from a man you all might know. His name is Mr. Will Smith. He says, "Fear is not real. It is a product of thoughts you create. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice." Let's think about that today when we think about the boys on the island and the fear that they have towards this beast. So, our daily objective, what I want you to do by the end of this class, I can consider what the beast might be in reality and how this affects the boys' civilization. So, at the end, I want you to be able to tell me what might the beast actually be and how might the fear of it be affecting them as a group. As always, everyone, we are going to open up our novels. I need you to get that and get with me. We are starting on page 88. So if you are not there, get there now. Go ahead, pause the video, get your book, page 88. Okay, remember that when you read with me, you become a better reader. Not only that, but I'm going to ask you to go back into the book and pull out questions and answers. So you're going to need to have your book open. Our focus for these pages, what is it that Simon suggests about the beast, and how are Ralph and Jack opposite as leaders? Okay, everyone, so we're starting at the very top of page 88. Just a quick recall of what's happening. Ralph has called a meeting. It is at night, so the boys come down to meet. He has a long list of things that they need to fix as a society. And the last thing that he wants to talk about is the fear of the beast. So he wants to bring up how they're all scared of the beast and they shouldn't be. He was hoping this meeting would go really well and everyone would be on the same page, but when we left off last, it was kind of falling into chaos. So when we pick up on the top of page 88, they're still talking about this fear of the beast, and they're listening to this boy, a young boy, one of the little ones, who comes up and talks about the things that he has seen, theoretically. So after he speaks, Simon is going to come up and talk. So remember our focus. What does Simon suggest about the beast? We're going to have some questions about that. And then I want you to pay attention towards the end on page 91. How are Ralph and Jack opposite as leaders? Okay, so starting at the top of page 88. Jack listened to Percival's answer and then let go of him. Percival, who's the little one, released, surrounded by the comfortable presence of humans, fell in the long grass and went to sleep. He passed out. Jack cleared his throat, then reported casually. He says the beast comes out of the sea. The last laugh died away. Ralph turned involuntarily, a black, humped figure against the lagoon. The assembly looked with him, considered the vast stretches of water, the high sea beyond, unknown indigo of infinite possibility, heard silently the sough and whisper from the reef. So right as we open up here on page 88, we're going to reread this passage from the top. Jack cleared his throat, then reported casually. He says the beast comes out of the sea. The last laugh died away. Ralph turned involuntarily, a black, humped figure against the lagoon. The assembly looked with him, considered the vast stretches of water, the high sea beyond, an unknown indigo of infinite possibilities, heard silently the sough and whisper from the reef. So what I want you to do, select 3 words or phrases from this passage that create an ominous tone. If you remember, ominous means coming evil or harm. What words from this passage create an ominous tone? So possible answers might be died away, black, humped figure, unknown indigo, silent, and maybe even whisper. These words create kind of a dark or ominous tone. Okay, so continuing at Maurice spoke on page 88. We're going to see Simon step up. Pay attention to this part. Maurice spoke so loudly that they jumped. Daddy said that they haven't found all the animals in the sea yet. Argument started again. Ralph held out the glimmering conch and Maurice took it obediently. The meeting subsided. I mean, when Jack says you can be frightened because people are frightened anyways, that's all right. But when he says there's only pigs on this island, I expect he's right, but he doesn't know. Not really. Not certainly, I mean. Maurice took a breath. My daddy says there's things, what do you call them, that make ink? Squids? That are hundreds of yards long and eat whole whales. He paused again and laughed gaily. I don't believe in the beast, of course. As Piggy says, life's scientific, but we don't know, do we? Not certainly, someone shouted. A squid couldn't come up out of the water. Couldn't. In a moment, the platform was full of arguing, gesticulating shadows. To Ralph, seated, this seemed the breaking up of sanity. Fear, beasts, no general agreement that the fire was all important. And when one tried to get the thing straight, the argument sheared off, bringing up fresh, unpleasant matter. He could see a whiteness in the gloom near him, so he grabbed it from Maurice and blew it as loudly as he could. The assembly was shocked into silence. Simon was close to him, laying hands on the conch. Simon felt a perilous necessity to speak, but to speak in assembly was a terrible thing to him. Maybe, he said hesitantly, maybe there is a beast. The assembly cried out savagely, and Ralph stood up in amazement. You, Simon, you believe in this? I don't know, said Simon. His heartbeats were choking him. But the storm broke up. Sit down! Shut up! Take the conch! Sod you! Shut up! Ralph shouted, hear him! He's got the conch. What I mean is, maybe it's only us. Next question to you. Though he would rather remain silent, Simon does not want to speak. Simon feels compelled to speak during the assembly. He suggests something about that line I just read. He suggests something about the beast that the boys hadn't yet considered. What does he seem to suggest? He suggests that the boys are the beast, that there is no creature, but that maybe it's only us. Okay, so in the next few lines, the author or the narrator is going to kind of suggest something that we're going to have a question about. Nuts! That was from Piggy, shocked out of decorum. Simon went on. We could be sort of... Simon became inarticulate in his efforts to express mankind's essential illness. So the author or the narrator says that Simon became inarticulate, so unable to speak clearly. Simon became unable to speak clearly in his effort to express mankind's essential illness. Okay, so my question to you, reading this detail, what words or phrases might allude to the biblical concept of original sin? So what words from that quote might make a reference or an allusion to the original sin? We talked about this in your warm-up. And then I want you to explain why that phrase alludes to the original sin. So the possible answer, the thing you would probably pull out is mankind's essential illness. So he's essentially might be saying that all humans are naturally prone to do evil or bad. So it's by nature that humans are just evil or bad, saying maybe they're the beast. Okay, so now we're going to continue on page 89. And what's the dirtiest thing here? There is. What's the dirtiest thing there is? So remember, I want you to focus as we keep going on the last reading focus. How are Ralph and Jack opposite as leaders? What's the dirtiest thing there is? As an answer, Jack dropped into the uncomprehending silence that followed it, the one crude expressive syllable. Release was immense. Those little ones who had climbed back on the twister fell off again and did not mind. The hunters were screaming with delight. Simon's effort fell about him in ruins. The laughter beat him cruelly, and he shrank away, defenseless, to his seat. At last, the assembly was silent again. Someone spoke out of turn. Maybe he means it's some sort of ghost. Ralph lifted the conch and peered into the gloom. The lightest thing was the pale beach. Surely the little ones were nearer. Yes, there was no doubt about it. They were in the huddle into a tight knot of bodies in the central grass. A flurry of wind made the palms talk, and the noise seemed very loud now that darkness and silence made it so noticeable. Two gray trunks rubbed each other with an evil speaking that no one had noticed by day. Piggy took the conch out of his hands. His voice was indignant. I don't believe in no ghosts. Ever. Jack was up too, unaccountably angry. Who cares what you believe, fatty? I got the conch. There was the sound of a brief tussle, and the boys moved to and fro. You give me the conch back. Ralph pushed between them and got a thump on the chest. He wrestled the conch from someone and sat down breathlessly. There's too much talk about ghosts. We ought to have left all this for daylight. A hushed and anonymous voice broke in. Perhaps that's what the beast is, a ghost. The assembly was shaken as by a wind. There's too much talking out of turn, Ralph said, because we can't have proper assemblies if you don't stick to the rules. He stopped again. The careful plan of this assembly had broken down. What did you want me to say then? I was wrong to call this assembly so late. We'll have a vote on them, on ghosts, I mean, and then go to the shelters because we're all tired. No, Jack, is it? Wait a minute. I'll say here and now that I don't believe in ghosts, or I don't think I do, but I don't like the thought of them. Not now that is, in the dark, but we were going to decide what's what. He raised the conch for a moment. Very well then. I suppose what's what is whether there are ghosts or not. He thought for a moment, formulating the question. Who thinks there may be ghosts? For a long time there was silence and no apparent movement. Then Ralph peered into the gloom and made out the hands. He spoke flatly. I see. The world, that understandable and lawful world, was slipping away. Once there was this and that, and now, and the ship had gone. The conch was snatched from his hands, and Piggy's voice shrilled. I didn't vote for no ghosts. He whirled round on the assembly. Remember that, all of you. They heard him stamp. What are we, humans or animals or savages? What's grown-ups going to think? Going off, hunting pigs, letting fires out, and now? A shadow fronted him tempestuously. You shut up, you fat slug. There was a moment's struggle, and the glimmering conch jigged up and down. Ralph leapt to his feet. Jack! You haven't got the conch. Let him speak. Jack's face swam near him. And you shut up. Who are you anyways? Sitting there telling people what to do. You can't hunt. You can't sing. I'm chief. I was chosen. Why should choosing make any difference? Just giving orders that don't make any sense. Piggy's got the conch. That's right. Favor Piggy as you always do. Jack! Jack's voice sounded in bitter mimicry. Jack! The rules, shouted Ralph. You're breaking the rules. Who cares? Ralph summoned his wits. Because the rules are the only thing we've got. But Jack was shouting against him. Bollocks to the rules. We're strong. We hunt. If there's a beast, we'll hunt it down. We'll close in and beat and beat and beat. He gave a wild whoop and leapt down to the pale sand. Okay, so my last question from this section for you, a foil. A foil is a character that contrasts another character in order to highlight the particular quality. So it's almost like they're opposite. So it's two characters that completely contrast each other. So my question to you is, what I want you to do is select two quotes from page 91, which show how Jack is a foil of Ralph. So that show how Jack is kind of opposite of Ralph. Some different answers that I picked out that you might pick out. You could honestly pick out different ones because there's a lot of possibilities on page 91. But possible answers is when Jack says, you shut up, you fat slug. Whereas Jack bullies Piggy, Ralph is a good friend to him for the most part. Another one is, why should that make any difference? Just giving orders that don't make any sense. So Jack doesn't see the point in a leader that just gives random orders. So that's why he's saying that. And then the last one, obviously, Ralph is really big on following the rules and trying to keep order. Whereas Jack says, bollocks to the rules. We're strong. We hunt. If there's a beast, we'll hunt it down. We'll close in and beat and beat and beat. So all these are possible quotes that could show how Jack is a foil for Ralph.